So, pretty much everyone knows the name Jeffrey Epstein and the horrifying crimes he's connected to. But there's another side to this story, one that's a lot darker and, honestly, a lot weirder. We're talking about a long, long trail of mysterious deaths that seems to follow him everywhere. It really makes you wonder if his secrets were being protected by something much more sinister than just cash and connections. And look, this isn't a case of one or two strange incidents that you can maybe write off. We're talking about dozens of people, dozens, all tied to Epstein's web. Powerful business partners, his inner circle, and, tragically, some of the brave women who came forward to accuse him. All of them ended up dead under very, very suspicious circumstances, stretching back decades. So that really brings us to the big question, right? The question we're going to dig into. Is this just a whole string of unbelievable, tragic coincidences? Or is it something else? Something more deliberate? A pattern of, well, strategic hits designed to silence people and keep a very powerful network's secrets buried for good. Okay, let's start at the beginning, shall we? The first wave of these deaths, it's interesting, they line up perfectly with these huge jumps in Epstein's power and his wealth. It's like a suspicious death happens at a super critical moment, and boom, Epstein's fortune and influence just explode. It happened more than once. So before Jeffrey Epstein was the guy managing the billion-dollar fortune of Les Wexner, the Victoria's Secret guy, that job belonged to an attorney named Arthur Shapiro. Now, in 1985, Shapiro was in some hot water with the IRS. And get this. Just one day before he was supposed to testify in front of a federal grand jury, he was murdered. We're talking a full-on mob-style execution. And the case? It's never been solved. And what happens next is just wild. Almost immediately after Shapiro is murdered, who steps in? Jeffrey Epstein. A college dropout, mind you, with zero formal financial training. And he's not just hired, he's given full power of attorney over Wexner's entire billion-dollar empire. It was a massive, massive leap for him. And wouldn't you know it, just a few years later, another, let's call it convenient, death happens that paves the way for his single most important partnership. That death was Robert Maxwell, the famous media tycoon. So in 1991, his whole business empire is crumbling, and suddenly his body is found floating in the Atlantic Ocean. The official story? A heart attack. Then he fell overboard. But the autopsy found all these unexplained injuries to his head and spine. And right in the middle of all that chaos, who shows up in New York, right at Epstein's side? His daughter, Ghislaine. And that's when their infamous partnership really began. Now, this pattern of strange deaths wasn't just limited to his business world. As we're about to see, it gets even more disturbing. A truly alarming number of women, many of them victims, accusers, people who could have been witnesses, they also died, all under really tragic and deeply suspicious circumstances. Let's talk about Ruslana Korshunova. She was a 20-year-old fashion model. Now, we know from flight logs that she flew on Epstein's private jet to his island back in 2006. Just 2 years later, she fell to her death from her 9th-floor apartment in New York. The authorities were quick to rule it a suicide, but there was no note. And her friends, her family, they all insisted she was happy, she was making plans for her birthday. It just didn't add up. And then there's Wendy Lee. In 2016, another woman connected to this whole circle. And again, she fell to her death, this time from her apartment in London. Wendy had actually dated Robert Maxwell for 7 years. Police ruled it a suicide. But get this. Just 2 weeks before she died, she had put her house up for sale and was telling friends she was excited about her plans to go traveling. It's the same story. Then fast forward to 2020, and it's Hollywood producer Steve Bing. His social circles definitely overlapped with Epstein's, and yep, he also fell to his death, this time from the 27th floor. But here's where it gets even stranger. Bing's death came just a year after his own girlfriend died, and he had apparently told people he did not believe her death was an accident. The list just keeps going. There's Carolyn Adriano, who was a key witness. Her testimony was crucial in convicting Ghislaine Maxwell. She died in 2023 from what they called an overdose, but her own mother questioned it, saying Carolyn had just told her she was sober and doing great. This whole climate of fear is so real that Virginia Giuffre, probably Epstein's most famous accuser, actually tweeted that if she ever dies by suicide, it wasn't her. Just think about that, a chilling warning from someone who dared to speak up. Okay, so now we're going to turn to the two biggest deaths in this whole saga, the absolute most pivotal ones, the detective who first built the case against Epstein, and of course, Jeffrey Epstein himself. This man right here is Detective Joseph Recaray. He was the decorated lead detective on the original Palm Beach investigation. He was the guy who built the case, and after he did, he reported that he was being followed by PIs. Then in 2018, just a year before Epstein was finally arrested for good, Recaray dies, suddenly. At just 50 years old. The cause? All they said was a brief illness. And you want to know something really wild? In an email that came out later, even Jeffrey Epstein himself suggested the death was suspicious. And that brings us to Epstein's own death, in a maximum security federal prison no less. Now, the official story is suicide, but oh man, the details are just riddled with problems. First, the two guards who were supposed to be checking on him every 30 minutes, they supposedly fell asleep, missed every single check, all night long. Then, the two cameras pointed right at his cell. They mysteriously malfunctioned, and guess what? The footage is gone. And to top it all off, in a total break from protocol, his cellmate was moved out the day before, leaving him totally alone. And the physical evidence? That's just as troubling. Dr. Michael Baden, a really well-known independent pathologist hired by Epstein's family, he examined the body, and what he found was stunning. Multiple fractures in Epstein's neck. He went on the record and said, and this is a direct quote, that the injuries were more consistent with a homicide by strangulation than a hanging. Let that sink in. You'd think, okay, Epstein's dead, the story's over, but it's not. The pattern didn't stop. Even after he was gone, some of his closest associates started dying too, under very, very similar circumstances. It really makes it seem like the network, whatever it is, was still cleaning house. Meet Jean-Luc Brunel. He was a powerful modeling agent, and he was alleged to be Epstein's main recruiter of young women. After Epstein died, Brunel gets arrested over in France. And here's the crucial part. Reports started surfacing that he was talking to U.S. authorities and that he might be willing to cooperate. To talk. And then what happens? In 2022, Brunel is found dead in his high-security prison cell in Paris. Does any of this sound familiar? He was found hanged by his bedsheets. He wasn't on active suicide watch, and, yep, key camera footage was reportedly missing. Just like that, another critical link in the network was gone, silenced. That same year, 2022, another name pops up. Mark Middleton. He was a former aide to President Clinton, and he was the guy who had signed off on several of Epstein's visits to the White House. He's found dead from a shotgun wound to the chest, but the initial police report said there was no weapon found anywhere near the body. Later, authorities said a shotgun was found, but it was about 30 feet away. Strange, to say the least. So, here we are, right back where we started. What do we have? We have mob-style hits. We have a bizarre string of people falling from balconies. We have two nearly identical prison suicides in two different countries. And all of them, every single one, is connected back to one man and his network. So I ask you again, is this all just a series of unbelievable, tragic coincidences? Or are we looking at the shadow of a ruthless operation, one designed to bury its secrets forever, one body at a time? I've laid out the evidence. The conclusion? Well, that's for you to decide.